The London Underground is a rapid transit system serving Greater London and some parts of the adjacent counties of Buckinghamshire, Essex and Hertfordshire in the United Kingdom. The Underground has its origins in the Metropolitan Railway, the world's first underground passenger railway. It opened in January 1863 and it is now part of the Circle, Hammersmith and City and Metropolitan lines. The system's first tunnels were built just below the ground using the cut and cover method. Later, smaller, roughly circular tunnels, which gave rise to its nickname, the Tube, were dug through at a deeper level. Whether you're a believer or not, I'm willing to bet not many people would fancy spending the night alone in an empty tube station. Thousands of people, from commuters to station workers, have reported ghostly goings-on over the years. Whether you live in London or just visiting or work there, you have most likely used one of the many stations. Covent Garden Station, since first opening its doors, has had many reported stories of a tall man with a hat and cloak wandering the corridors. Some workers have been so terrified that when they have seen the apparition, they have requested to move to a less haunted station. The apparition is reportedly the actor William Terriss, who was murdered in 1897. He used to frequent the bakery that once stood on the site of the station before his demise. Now he walks the corridors. On quiet nights, blood-curdling screams can be heard at Farringdon Station, echoing up the corridors. These terrifying sounds can be heard frequently throughout the year. The screams are rumoured to be from Anne Naylor, an apprentice hat maker whom was murdered by her employer in 1758. The station sits on the site where her body was unceremoniously dumped. Staff at Liverpool Street Station have spotted many strange figures on CCTV system in the dead of night. Passengers have reported seeing a man in overalls pacing up and down the platforms. The station is rumoured to have been built on a mass burial site. The rumour turned out to be true when over 3,000 skeletons were unearthed in 2015. The remains of plague victims who were buried during the Black Death. There has been sightings of a sinister black figure stalking the passages of Bank Station since the early 19th century. A disgusting putrid smell wafts throughout the station have been reported, as well as pervading sense of sadness comes over commuters. Bank Station was built on top of a mass grave. Could this be the reason for these senses and feelings? The menacing black figure is said to be that of a nun. She said to walk the tunnels and mourn her executed brother, who worked at the old bank which gave the station its name. Ghostly goings-on had been going on at Bethnal Green Station. Workers have heard the sounds of children sobbing, women screaming, and the general sound of panic. This starts off pretty quiet, rising to the sound of terror, leaving everyone who hears it understandably terrified. It can be traced back to the night of March 1943, as one of the deepest stations in East London. People went there as their nearest air raid shelter. An anti-aircraft gun went off nearby, starting panic which started the stampede. 173 people died in the ensuing crash, and the screams still commence to this day. On the Bakerloo line, the Elephant and Castle is no stranger to odd tapping noises. Footsteps can be heard, but no one around to make them. Doors thrown open by invisible hands. A strange occurrence is that a woman who is seen boarding trains but never seen departing them. The abandoned British Museum station has been shut for over 80 years. However, the sheer malevolence of its resident ghosts means that it is truly a terrifying stop. Many believe that the long-abandoned station's tunnels are haunted by the Egyptian god Amun-Ra. He has been blamed for the disappearance of 2 women from nearby Holborn Station in 1935. Rumour has it that there's a secret tunnel connecting the Egyptian room at the British Museum to Holborn, and he has been using the tunnel to travel to Holborn and snatch tube passengers to take back to his lair. Amun-Ra supposedly has said to have been seen wandering the corridors and platforms, loincloth and all. King's Cross Station is one of the biggest and most famous tube stations in London. In November 1987, 31 people were killed and 100 were injured in a fire at the station. The blaze started under a wooden escalator, probably by a dropped-lit match. Since then, a young woman with long brown hair, wearing quite modern clothes, has been seen screaming with her arms stretched out, as if in need of help, before disappearing when people tried to comfort her. Passengers have reported smelling smoke where the young woman was first seen. On the Northern Line, there's an area called the Kensington Loop, which is where the trains turn around and passengers aren't allowed. Drivers don't like the track because it's a tight curve, and trains are sometimes held there for a long time. Another reason this section is unpopular is that there have been reports of drivers hearing voices in their empty trains, and some drivers have heard all their interconnecting carriage doors slamming open and shut. Apparently, a passenger once tried to board the train while it was moving through a connecting door before being dragged into the tunnel and killed. Aldgate Station opened in 1876 and was built on another plague pit. Supposedly, there's even a logbook for the ghost sightings at this station. Phantom footsteps have been heard, but unlike most ghosts, this one seems to be soothing and kind. An electrician working at Aldgate one night slipped between the tracks, hitting a live power rail and receiving a 20,000 volt shock. It should have killed him, but he survived after being knocked unconscious, receiving only some bruising. Afterwards, his colleagues claimed that they saw a transparent figure of an old lady kneeling beside the unconscious man, stroking his hair. She's been dubbed the Ghostly Angel.